distant healing. I think many of us, when we hear that, we think that's just not possible. How can this guy you're talking to here send distant healing over time and space to someone who's miles away? I mean, it just sounds ludicrous, doesn't it? Absolutely ridiculous, preposterous. Is that what you're thinking? Because I'll be honest with you, there was a time when I was thinking exactly the same thing. I'm thinking like, want distant healing? You go and give the doctor a call on the phone and you ask for healing that way. How can someone like Gary here, sitting in the heart of Kent, send me healing when I'm all the way up in, I don't know, in the middle of Wales, for example? It's just not possible. Yet, I found very much that it is. And this is really a thing. And so today, we're going to look at 8 little points. So I've got my little handy board here with all these little points here. Not sure if that's going to be, you're going to be able to see that or not, because I know it reverses sometimes. But don't worry, we're going to go through these little points one by one on distant healing. So the first look I'm going to look at is how. How is it possible for me to send distant healing right across to wherever? Anytime, any place in the world right now. In fact, you could put that, if you're going to go really bold, in the whole darn universe. Think of it like this. When you put on your television, there is an image that can come from miles away. It's right there in front of you on your screen. And it doesn't matter if that was filmed in America. It could be a live broadcast from America. It could be a live broadcast from Australia. Anywhere. Yet we take it for granted. We're looking at that image right in front of us right now. Exactly the same with your phone. You pick your phone up, you have a little natter or a video call, you're talking away, and it don't have to be in the same room, do we? We make that connection. Reiki is exactly the same. It's an energy transfer. It's a transfer of energy from me to you. So and we don't think of it, there's anything mysterious going on with a telephone call. Why should this be any different? So when we send in healing across time and space, it is almost like we're making some kind of lovely call, a little message that we're sending. And when you think of it that way, it kind of does start to make sense with us, doesn't it? So have a think of that. When you get those little messages come through, those feelings, if I say to someone, I'm going to send you some distant Reiki, trust in that process, that it's going to happen. It's perfectly natural. Okay, the second little thing, number 2, and stick around because number 7 is probably my favourite, so make sure you stay for that one at least. Number 2, now this is more for people that are already in tune to Reiki. They might think when they're level 1, can't do it yet, I've got to learn the distant healing symbol. You can actually send distant healing without the symbol. Now I realise that may have some people up in arms and saying, oh, you can't, you need the distant healing symbol. When you think of your intention to send healing, you can't stop it. It's going to go where it's needed. And then someone says, well, what's the point of the symbol then? The symbol is, now for those the uninitiated, symbols are another way of working with Reiki energy. Symbols elicit a certain frequency, a certain strength where we can connect with that. And I like to think of the symbol, which is called Honshaze Shonen, as a more kind of like sort of like seamless way of connect. It's almost like an intent. If I tell yourself, this sense of oneness is now present. It just makes it a little bit more, enhances the connection, shall we say. I think that's the words we're looking for. So yes, the distance symbol will work, but it will also work on whatever level you are. As soon as you think of something, the Reiki energy will go to where it's needed. And remember, these are all my opinions. These are all my opinions, and I've done this. I've sent distant healing when I was level 1 to someone, so I know this does work. Third, another often contentious thing that comes up when you're sending Reiki to someone over distance, should you ask for permission? Now, this will open up a whole can of worms because you will have literally a 50-50 split. There'll be 50% people saying, oh, no, you must have permission first before you can enter any kind of interaction. And you'll have another side of the coin, which is probably where I'm at really, where you think if you see someone struggling, why would you not want to help them? It really, I do feel it comes down to a matter of choice. And I do think it is certainly good manners to sort of like ask that person if they would like to receive healing, or normally they would ask you in the first place anyway. But it's like this, if you see someone falling down in the street, are you going to help them back up on their feet? You're just going to leave them in the gutter. That's how I almost see this equation, and especially because sometimes people won't be able to ask anyway. You know, they may be so incapacitated, you think, well, I'm not allowed to send it because they haven't asked permission. Always trust your gut instinct. And I often make this caveat as well, where if I'm sending healing, in those rare examples where that would happen, I would say, if that person doesn't wish to receive that energy, it's almost like a gatekeeper there, then allow that gatekeeper to send that energy to where they would rather send it. But I think permission is an important thing to bear in mind and something we can certainly consider. Number 4, is it effective? Oh yes. Distant healing, I'm sure many of the Reiki healers here will sort of like agree with me. When you send Reiki over distance, is it effective? I found it very much so. And I feel because the reason why, it's because you are just purely focused on sending that energy. You're not worried about where your hands may be going. I mean, me, I see like a holistic whole. I literally visualize that person in a beautiful space and sending energy there. Some people like to use proxies. By that I mean they may have like sort of like a teddy bear, for example, for instance, where they just use that as like it helps them guide the energy where it's needed. But for me, I literally will just trust the process, hold that person in that space, literally just kind of almost go kind of blank, and just hold that time, that space for that lovely healing to take place. So is it effective? Yes, I've had some amazing stories from distant healing, which are maybe for another day, but people have come back to me and said like, yes, Gary, I really did feel that energy. And often in my little group, we'll do distant healing. We all feel it. For me, it's like I feel this lovely, almost like this lovely energy just gently rolling down as someone's sending it to me. So for sure, it can certainly be the case. The 5th question, or 5th point, not really questions, but some are questions and some are more points. How long would it last? When we do a normal Reiki treatment, I tend to do it sort of like, normally lasts about an hour or so, and that includes a consultation as well. Never dismiss the consultation phase. And it's the same with distant healing. So you would have a little, like, sort of like conversation, or it could be instant messaging for a while, as just why that person's asked you for distant healing. So you kind of like get sort of like allow the energy to get some idea where it's going. And this is important. You allow that energy to go where it needs to go, rather where I think it needs to go, and to get myself out of the way. And so how long does the process last? Really does vary from practitioner to practitioner. Normally you often find about 20 minutes or so is enough just holding that space. Sometimes it may go longer, shorter, whatever the case may be. Or sometimes people might just really want to just bask in that energy. I think, give me a whole hour's worth. It is very much the needs of who you're working with and how you feel. But I feel it is quicker than doing a normal treatment because you're just holding that one space. It's a whole energy. So you do tend to find that it tends to be a little bit swifter than your usual method. Number 6, what methods? There are so many different ways of doing distant healing. You can look on YouTube right now, and if you was to put in semi-distant healing, you'll see loads. You'll see ASMR videos sending it. You'll see people won't use so much of that, just literally holding affirmations, prayers. What is more effective one than the other? I'll let the viewer decide. Let the client decide what they prefer. I do believe that a one-to-one, obviously, I feel is more personal for that individual, but you could argue if it's a group collective energy, is that more stronger? Yes and no on both counts, really. There's certainly things to be said, benefits and disadvantages on both. If it's a personal thing, then obviously that is really related to you. But it's quite right to say collectively, imagine you've got all those energies sending you healing at the same time. That's another thing altogether. So what method is best? Who can say? And you'll find there is so many different spectrums of healing. And I'm sure if you look at spiritual healing, Karuna Reiki, and angelic Reiki, angelic healing, spirit, the whole healing shebang, there will be different variations. And if you're not sure which one to go with your intuition. My first, go listen to your heart. Who's appealing to you? What energy is calling out to you? And trust in that process. That's what I would say if you're not sure about the methods. And it kind of, again, leads me into the 7th question, which, is probably my favourite. Whole or group settings, or single or group settings, which is best. So I know I'm kind of reiterating a little bit what I was saying before, but I do feel it's important, worth kind of like sort of like going over a little bit. The single method is where you would literally kind of probably book like a professional service. So let's imagine that you would contact me and say, like, I'd like to arrange some distant healing at said time, and we would probably go through we would go through the whole process of why that person needs that healing and what we can hope to get from that. And this is why the discussion is so important, because what we say sometimes, what we think we need, is not actually what we do need. And it then becomes sort of like au fait with what energy is sent. And that's another important thing as well. If we're doing distant healing singularly, then I may well want to use certain symbols with that, or certain energies that I would elicit with that. That's more likely to happen with a single healing session. With the group session, it tends to be honest, that tends to be people who are already trained in Reiki, so we kind of know what to expect. And when we're in those sessions, yeah, for sure, you can have like maybe a generic talk about what you'd like to receive, but you might not be divulging stuff that might be a little bit more personal as opposed to one-to-one. Also, what I would say is, if I was to send distant healing in a group setting, I would strongly advise everyone that's taking part not to use certain symbols. The reason being, we could end up with sandwiches of Lord knows what coming at someone, especially if we got different, how can we say, different ways of working. So I would always say, let's just send some beautiful golden energy to that person in that scenario and allow the healing to do what it needs to do. That for me is a much nicer, more calm way of sending that healing, and it will certainly have a more beneficial effect. They both are equally valid, so just to re-emphasize that. And the 8th thing I'm going to say is, have a look at the video that's coming up right now. Because I've done some distant healing videos here on YouTube for you to look at and maybe experience for yourself. And I'll be curious, because I've done this some time ago, and I would like to know, almost like it's like an experiment for me, are those energies still going strong? Because I've put the intention out that they will be, but will it truly be the case? And with what I'm asking people, with an open mind, an open heart, to just lay back and receive those energies and just see what you feel. And if you're kind of finding all these sort of videos really useful, please do consider a little fun little PDF that I put together, nothing major, where I divulge certain ways of working with the Reiki energy. And yeah, obviously it's more sort of like made for people who are into Reiki, but even if you're not, you might be a bit curious and think, oh, I'd like to know about that. Drop a line in the comments below, and I will gladly send that to you when you fill in a certain little form that allows me to, so I can send that off to you. And please do put your own comments down. What are your thoughts about distant healing? Maybe there's something I haven't covered in this 8 little points that you'd like to raise. And I'm certainly always willing to listen, because I think we should listen and we all grow together. This is what this channel's all about. 2 reasons why I put this channel together. 1 is a lovely resource for the people that I train, and 2 is to broaden awareness of Reiki and build that community spirit. So the more people that can connect with me, I can connect with them, and we can build something magical. Certainly there's a couple of people that have connected through YouTube, and I'm so blessed that they are sort of like part of the channel now, and part of what I do. Anyway, I shall stop there. I wish you all the very best. We are having a very, very hot time at the moment, so free Reiki advice, drink water, and I'll catch you at the next one. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.